Everyone doing today? This is real estate coach Craig Proctor, and today we're going to be talking about something really important, which is how to get listings, but mostly my focus is going to be on what to do once you have the listing appointment, because listings are the name of the game right now in this market. I think you would agree. Let me know if you prefer listings over buyers, especially in this crazy hot market. So we definitely do not want to lose listings. We want to make sure that when we go out there, even if we're in fierce competition, we want to make sure that the home seller understands what makes us different and better. And not only are we going to get the business, but we want to make sure that we're able to negotiate the highest fee possible, right? So we don't have to cut our fee to win the business. So I've done over 10,000 listing presentations in my real estate career. So I kind of think it's one of the things I'm like really the best at, just because I did it over and over and over again. And when I first got into the business, of course, I had zero confidence. I had no listing presentation. I think my listing presentation was probably the MLS comparables, right? I talked probably a little bit about Remax because I couldn't talk about myself. And then I talked about the comparables. I didn't know what I was doing. How many of you can relate to that? In the beginning, I had what we call the wing it presentation. I just winged it. It was exciting because I never knew what was going to come out of my mouth, but it wasn't very effective. So over many years, through trial and error, some of the words that came out of my mouth worked really well, and some of the things that I said fell on deaf ears. So over many years, I was putting this together, right? I was figuring out what are the right things or the best things to say, and then what is the best order to say these things in. So there's all these little techniques I want to share with you today, so you don't have to spend 20 years figuring it out like I did. But I can tell you the end result. The end result was I was able to list about 8 out of every 10 sellers that I met with this presentation. So basically I was doing the same thing, saying the same thing in the same order over and over and over again to get the same great results. And I think that's what all of you want, right? You want to have a surefire presentation that you can take the seller through where at the end of the presentation, the natural conclusion is the seller says, "Where do I sign?" If you are faced with a whole bunch of objections at the end of your listing presentation, if you have to be an arm twister, it simply tells me your listing presentation just isn't strong enough. So that's what we're going to talk about on today's session. But before we get started, let me know in the comments where you're from. What major metropolitan area do you work in? Type it into comments, because quite often referrals go back and forth amongst those that are involved with Craig Proctor, or just some of you that are watching me, maybe even for the very first time. So let me know in the comments what your city is. Let's see if we can get some referral business, some buyers and sellers going back and forth, because we want to refer our buyers and sellers to agents that know what they're talking about, right? There's so many agents that don't know what they're talking about. When you're plugged into my world, you're going to be aligned with realtors that think a certain way, and you're definitely going to want to refer your business and get referrals from like-minded individuals. So if you're joining me a little bit late today, I'm real estate coach Craig Proctor, and today we're going to talk about the ultimate listing presentation. I'm going to share with you some of these insider secrets that one would only learn from being in the trenches. There's so many real estate coaches and gurus that haven't spent 25 years in the real estate industry and who haven't had massive success. As many of you know my story, in my third year of selling real estate, so within 3 years having my license, I was named the #1 Remax agent in the entire world. Year after year for over 20 years, I sold anywhere between 400 and 500 homes, giving me a lot of experience. I did most of the listing, especially in the early days. So what did I learn? That's what we're going to talk about today. What did I learn? What worked? What didn't work? I spent many years figuring that out. Now, in the beginning, when I'd only have 1 or 2 listing appointments in a week, I couldn't really get better. It's like if you're a golfer and you only play once in a while, you don't get better, right? If you play tennis, you only play once in a while, you don't get better. It's repetition that made me really good at this, because if I had a 10 a.m. listing appointment and I messed it up, no problems, because I had another listing appointment at noon, and another one at 2 p.m., and another one at 4 p.m. So through this massive repetition, I was able to experiment and tweak and really get this listing presentation dialed down. Now, I kept tweaking it and changing it until guess when? Until I couldn't make it any better, right? I just tweaked it and experimented with it. I was like the mad scientist, going out on listing appointment after listing appointment. On the weekends, like on a Saturday or Sunday, it wasn't uncommon for me to go out on 5 or 6 listing appointments every day. 5 or 6 on Saturday, 5 or 6 on Sunday. So I was really able to get this drilled down. So today we're going to talk about, well, what is the ultimate listing presentation? Is there a best way to do this, right? You shouldn't wing it. Don't do what I did. I know some of you are. When you're having surgery, you don't want the surgeon to wing it. When you jump on an airplane, you're hoping the pilot has a flight plan, right? They're not winging it. So it makes sense. You do all this work to get in face-to-face with the seller. You want to make sure that your listing presentation is so good that they choose you versus all the other agents. And here's the biggie. Not only do they choose you, they're willing to pay you more money, because if they're interviewing other agents, someone's going to cut the fee. So again, the listing presentation has to be so good that 2 things happen. Number 1, they're convinced to pick you. And number 2, they're willing to pay you more money than the other realtors they're speaking with. So how do we get the listings? I don't have a lot of time to get into this one, but I'll give you a hint. You offer things that sellers really want, and you make it easy and non-threatening for them to get those things. So if you want to get sellers, one of the easiest ways to get a seller is to get that seller to operate as a buyer, to get them to respond as a buyer, versus running ads targeting the seller, versus running hey, do you want to know what your house is worth? Or versus, hey, do you want to know what to do to prepare your home for sale? Offer the logical next move up for these move up buyers. So it's going to be a list of high demand properties, so they step forward, the seller steps forward as a buyer, and now you've got their listing, because not a seller in the world, unlikely anyway, is going to stick a for sale sign on their front yard until they know where they're going next. Of course, the only exception to that would be people that are just selling their home and they're not buying another property. I'm kind of an expert at getting sellers to raise their hand. So that's not our topic today, but let's assume that I could teach you how to get lots of sellers to come to you without cold calling or door knocking or chasing. Sellers come to you, leads come to your phone, okay? And all you have to do is call them back and basically say, hey, this is Craig Proctor with ABC Realty. The reason I'm calling is I received your request. For whatever, and I want to send you the information. And by the way, are you thinking about making a move? I show you how to qualify the seller. So that's a really important thing. Before we decide to run out and meet with the seller, let's make sure that they're actually super qualified. So a lot of the sellers I was talking to myself, but some of the sellers would call into the RE/MAX office and they would speak to my assistant, Cindy. I had my own private phone number, not the main RE/MAX number. I had my own private phone number on all my for sale signs. Those calls would come to Cindy. One of the questions that I made sure that Cindy asked is, where are you moving to? When do you need to be there? Why are you moving? Right? We want to know the why. Like, where are you moving? Why are you moving? When do you need to be there? Here's another big one. Are you going to be speaking with any other real estate agents? Cindy did not like to ask that question, but that's an important question. Sometimes the sellers would say, yeah, we're going to be speaking to other agents. To which I trained Cindy to say, well, when are you meeting with the other agents? Because Craig would like to be the last realtor you meet with. Why? So he can show you how much extra he does to get your home sold. So I'm trying to position myself as last in. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, well, what if they list with one of the other agents? Well, that's where the plan of being last in would not be a very good plan. So Cindy does this. After she says, are you speaking to other agents? And Craig would be like to be the last realtor you meet with, so he can show you how much extra he does. Once we set that time, Cindy would then say, Craig's going to do a fair amount of preparation for his meeting with you. And all he asks in return is for your commitment that you won't list with one of the other realtors before Craig has an opportunity to meet with you on Thursday. Does that sound fair? Does it sound fair? Is it true that you and I spend a fair amount of work on the preparation? It is a fair request. Now, if the seller won't commit 100% to waiting, to not listing with the other agents until I get there on Thursday, if they won't commit to that, then Cindy will book me first. So I'm either going to be last with the 100% locked in commitment. It's not 100%, but it really reduces the chances of the seller listing with one of the other agents. But if she can't get them locked in with their commitment for me to be last in, then she'll set me up to go first. Now, she's going to ask other questions too, like how much money have you spent on the house since you've owned the property? Like what have you done in improvements? And she'll flat out ask them, what do you think your house is worth? Now, sometimes the seller will say, well, gee, we were hoping Craig would tell us that. But quite often they would give a price. And sometimes that price was actually less than what the market value would be, which is good to know. It's like, well, these sellers will be easy. They're expecting to sell their home for less than what it's worth, or the opposite. At least I'm prepared if I know, okay, these sellers want way more than what is realistic. Now, when I get to the house, here's a little technique that's worked for me. You can try it if you want. When I knock on the door, I reach out, introduce myself, and I say, hi, I'm Craig Proctor. Are you folks ready to get your home sold today? And just by their response, it gives me a hint, right? If they say, yeah, like let's get down to it, and I walk into the kitchen and they've got their tax bill and their survey sitting on the kitchen table, I know they're probably good to go. But other times, when I said, hi, this is Craig Proctor, good to meet you. Are you folks ready to get your home sold today? Sometimes they would say, well, I don't know, it depends what you have to say. We're not sure. So that tells me, okay, I'm probably have to do a full presentation. Now, even how I set the stage in the house is important. So remember, we haven't even gotten to the listing presentation yet. I'm still at the front door, but now we're gonna go sit down somewhere, right? Quite often, they'll wanna lead you to like a family room, right? Where you're sitting on one couch and they're sitting 20 feet away in another couch, a family room or a living room. That's no good. We're actors, right? We're there to do a presentation. So politely ask them, would it be okay if we sat at a table, like usually the kitchen table or the dining room table? And how many of you can relate to this? Usually like we're presenting to a husband and wife, right? So you've got the husband on one side of you and the wife on the other side of you. And no matter how good a job you try to do, but trying to divide your attention between the husband and wife, there's always one of them that feels like he gave the other more attention. So here's what I do. I ask them, would it be okay if you sat here either to my left or my right? So when I'm looking at one of them, I'm looking at both of them at exactly the same time. These are just little things that you learn in the trenches doing this over and over again. Also, I determined that I prefer to have the buyers and sellers, like my laptop on one side and the sellers on the other side. So are you a left-handed or right-handed presenter? Like these are little things, dumb little things, but I found that I prefer to have my laptop to my left and the sellers on the other side. So that's the way I'd set it up. I'd kind of set the stage. We're actors, right? We need to set the stage. So I have directed them to the kitchen table. Here's where I'm gonna sit, here's where they're gonna sit, and now I turn on my laptop, I power up my laptop. What's gonna happen next? The next thing is we're gonna go look at the house. As we're looking around the house, I always had a notepad, okay, like this thing here. And I'll tell you why I had a notepad. First of all, I determined the sellers really like it. I'm not like a super detailed person, but it was important for me. If I'm listing 5 or 6 homes a day, by the time I get home, I have to take notes because I don't know which house had which features, right? But the sellers also like it. So as they're walking me around the house and they're showing me all the renovations and all the things they did, and they're saying to you, oh, here's the brass door knocker that we brought back from Italy last summer, and we paid $10,000 for it. I'm thinking, well, you're probably not going to get $10,000 more for your home because of the Italian brass door knocker, but it's going in the notes. Now, as I'm walking around the house, can anybody guess? Let me know in the comments. What am I trying to determine as I'm walking around the house? And it appears to be casual conversation where they're asking me questions and I'm asking them questions. Can anyone tell me in the comments what I'm trying to determine? I'm asking them things like, what do you do for a living? Right? And they're asking me questions. Like they might ask me, what's your commission? How long is your listing? What would you price this house at? Here's the clue. If you typed in, I'm trying to determine their personality type, you are correct. By the questions they ask of me and by how they answer the questions I ask them, I'm able to kind of determine the personality type of the seller I'm meeting with. Now, this is really important. How many of you experienced this before? You don't get the listing signed, so you follow up a couple days later. Hey, just following up, see if you made decisions with the house yet. And they say, yeah, well, unfortunately, we decided to list our home with another realtor. And you say, well, may I ask why? And they say to you, well, we just felt more comfortable with the other realtor. What they're really saying is, for whatever reason, I didn't feel comfortable with you. Let me know in the comments if that's ever happened to you before. Like you thought the listing presentation went pretty well, you didn't get it that night, they weren't ready to sign, and when you follow up a day or two later, they're telling you, well, we just felt more comfortable with the other realtor. Okay, so what that means is, for whatever reason, they didn't feel more comfortable with you. Well, as you probably know, there are 4 major personality types. So I teach you how to identify the 4 major personality types. Let me give you an example. When I first got into real estate, I had a lot of trouble with certain types of sellers, and I really couldn't put my finger on it. But if they were like a detail person, like they were like an engineer, not an engineer that drives a train, but they were like a civil engineer or electrical engineer, if they were an accountant, if they were a real detailed person, I seem to have more trouble with those sellers. I'd get to their house and they'd have the binder, the 3-ring binder with all the tabs, Remax, Century 21, Keller Williams, and you're there for like an hour and a half, and at the end of it, they're like, well, we need to think about it. And my personality is like, I've been here for an hour and a half, like, what does it need to think about? Why don't we discuss those questions? So I would try to press for the close when what I really should have done, knowing that they were the analytical personality, I should have said at the end of my presentation, if they weren't ready to list, I should have said, hey, you know what? We've covered a lot of information today. Why don't you think about it and I'll follow up with you tomorrow. Now they would have liked that because that's what they're going to do anyway, but I would have made it my idea. Now the opposite's true. Like if I was a real detailed real estate agent and I'm into graphs and charts, and that doesn't mean the seller likes that, right? If you're a real detailed realtor and you're at their house and they're the type of seller that's going to make a decision on whether they're going to list with you in 15 minutes or not, they don't want to hear your hour and a half presentation, right? You're going through your graphs and checklists and you look over at them and their eyes are rolling back in their head. So we have to understand that we need to sell to prospects the way they want to be sold, not the way we want to be sold. That's our natural tendency. That's the mistake we make is, well, this is how I make decisions, right? So that's how everyone makes decisions. Wrong. Because how many of you agree? Let me know in the comments if you agree with this statement. You can have the best track record, you can be the most experienced realtor, whatever, but if the seller doesn't like you, they're not going to do business with you. Okay, let me know in the comments if you agree with that one. The seller, if you rub them the wrong way, they're not going to do business with you. Now, the key is to have a great presentation and to present that presentation in a style to their liking. Okay, present it the way they want to receive the information, not necessarily the way that you like to buy things or sell things. So, I haven't even gotten to the listing presentation yet, right? I talked about all the pre-qualifying questions. I talked about what I say when I knock on the door. I talked about making sure that we go to a kitchen table or dining room table, even where we're going to sit, powering up your laptop, walking around the house, and determining their personality type, and then obviously evaluating what the property's worth. Now I'm back at the kitchen table. Now the listing presentation itself has got a very specific setup. Okay, it's got a very specific structure. Your listing presentation, folks, it can't be all about you and your company. If this is going to be a 45-minute or 1 hour presentation, just a few minutes on you. Let them say, I'm going to talk a few minutes about me, and then the rest of the hour, I'm going to talk about you and how we can best serve your needs. So it's very important that if they're interviewing agents, always ask them, well, what are you looking for in an agent? If you're interviewing agents, what is your selection criteria? Don't guess. Promise you, if you ask the question, what are you looking for in a realtor? Quite often they'll tell you. And then you just talk about what's most important to them. So for example, if the seller said, well, we hate open houses, well, I'm not going to talk about open houses. If they said they love open houses, I'm going to talk about what we would do to open their home and expose it. If they said, well, the last realtor we hired, we had to chase them around. They were terrible communicators. The service was bad. I would talk about, well, if you were to list with me, I guarantee to call you every single week and let you know what we're doing to market and advertise your property and what the feedback was in all the showings. I absolutely guarantee that in writing. And if we don't call you every single week, I'll deduct $100 off my commission or $200 off my commission for any time you don't get a weekly call. Something like that, right? Now, not only am I saying that in words, but notice there's a consequence. I am going to do X or there'll be a penalty. Too many realtors, the ones you compete against, they just say, I'll call you or I'll provide you great service. There's no guarantee. And if they use the word guarantee, it's just used loosely. Oh, I guarantee to give you great service. Or what? Or nothing, right? I guarantee to sell your home fast. Or what? So I teach you how to make performance guarantees. Basically, we take what you're already going to do anyway, we're going to put it in writing, and then we're going to make a guarantee in writing with a consequence, and that works so well. So what I would teach you are really 3 plans of attack here. I call these unique selling proposition platforms. So the first unique selling proposition platform is, what are your unique guarantees, your performance guarantees? So for example, if you were to list your home, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, at my recommended asking price, I guarantee I will produce an offer on your home within 30 days. And if I don't do that, whenever I do get an offer on your home, I'll deduct $500 or $1,000 off my commission. But the truth is, in this market, as we all know, if the seller would just list their home at your recommended price, it would sell immediately and you would get your full commission. This gives you an opportunity to actually earn your full commission. Say to the seller, give me a chance to earn my fee. Take my recommended asking price. I will get you your price or slightly more, guaranteed in writing. I'll sell it in under 7 days or whatever guarantee makes sense to you. We teach you how to do a bit of research with this. Okay, so that's performance guarantee USPs. The next platform I want to talk about are unique services that you provide that the other agents don't provide. So for example, if you work with a team, you might want to talk about, when you hire me, you get me and my entire team for the same price as hiring a solo agent. If you're a solo agent, I will teach you how to position that. If you're a solo agent, you're going to say, when you hire me, you actually get me. Okay, I don't delegate any parts of this to less experienced or less competent agents. So whether you're a solo agent or a team, I show you how to position that to your advantage. How about this? You have buyers in your database, right? If not, you want to get involved with the Craig Proctor system, because I will show you how to build your database up with dozens, really hundreds of qualified buyers. Imagine if you were the seller. I get to your house, you're interviewing other agents, and I can pull out a list of buyers that I have for your home. So it would go like this. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, prior to our appointment here today, I searched my database and I found I have 119 buyers that are looking for a home in your price range, in your neighborhood, 4-bedroom, 2-story. Should you decide to list your home with me, the very first thing that I would do is I would email pictures and detailed information of your home out to my 119 buyers in my buyers in waiting database. Sometimes I get a hit right away. Sometimes I get multiple buyers that are interested in your home right away. Now watch this. It sounds kind of crazy, but it's almost like I've been looking for a buyer for your home before you and I even met today. Pause. You mentioned you interviewed a couple of other realtors. Did the other realtors you meet with, did they talk to you about how many buyers they're currently working with? Pause. What conclusion is the seller coming to? The seller says, no, the other agents, all they wanted to talk about is should we list with them what they would begin to do to try to find a buyer for our home. But Craig's already got the buyers. You see how I'm positioning myself as the agent that already has the buyers. Now, the truth is you have to have the buyers. I show you how to do this, folks. So I show you how to generate the buyer leads and then leverage off the buyers to get the sellers. If you're interested in this, I would like to speak to you about how you can implement Craig Proctor strategies. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to work with 5 of you. We're going to do a free, no obligation consultation, a business consultation. I call it a breakthrough call, and we'll do it for free for the first 5 of you that are interested. If someone could type into the comments, proctorcall.com. Okay, so my name, Proctor, and then just call, proctorcall.com. That's a clickable link. And on this breakthrough call, here's what I would do. I would talk to you about where you are right now in your business and where it is that you want to go. Like I'm sure you know where you are right now, and I'm sure you have a pretty good idea as to where you'd like to take your business. Now, why do you want to take your business to that level? Like, why is that important to you? I was talking to a lady that was doing 25 transactions, and she said, I want to go to 50. Okay, but why? We had to do a bit of digging, but eventually she says, well, if I was doing 50, if I could go from 25 to 50 transactions, my husband could quit his job, he could come and work with me, we could travel, and we could see the kids. So I have to assume you know where you are and you know where it is that you want to go. Well, what is holding you back? There's something obviously holding you back. Would you like my 25 years in experience to help troubleshoot, remove that obstacle that's in between where you are now and where you want to go? That's what I'm really, really good at. You see, what you need are proven systems. You need a lead generation system that produces you quality buyer and seller leads every day. And when the leads come to you, you're not chasing them, so you're much better positioned because you're simply returning an inquiry that the buyer and seller made. I show you how to qualify them over the phone and to offer them something that compels them to want to meet with you. And then during the meeting, I show you the presentations. So just like today, we're talking about the listing presentation, I also can help you with the buyer presentation, right? There's a best way to do this. There's a beginning, a middle, an end. There's a way to do this. So proctorcall.com, we'll do that for the first 5. Now back to the listing presentation. Obviously I don't have time to go through the whole presentation, but when you're done with all the benefits that you provide, here's what I want you to say to the seller. Before you immediately go to, hey, this is what I think your house should be listed at, and this is my commission rate, and I want a 6-month listing. Don't do that. You've got to ask for the order before you talk about your fee or the price or the length of the listing. Here's why. We want to make sure that they've fully bought in. So I go through my whole presentation, blah, 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 and I get to the end of the benefits. Before I go to price, commission, and length of the listing, I'm going to say this. I'm going to look the sellers in the eyes and I'm going to say, based on what we've talked about here today, would you like me to handle this for you? And if they say yes, then I'm going to move on to price and commission and the rest of it. Now, if they say, I don't know, it depends on like you haven't told us what your commission rate is, or you haven't told us what list price you'd recommend. Watch what I say. I understand, but assuming we can come to an agreement on my fee and the asking price, would you like me to handle this for you? See, I want to get their buy-in right there, because if I don't get their buy-in right there, then it really doesn't matter what my fee is. And it really doesn't matter what my opinion of asking price should be. So I'm going to try to get their buy-in right there. Then I'm going to go through pricing and what they should list their home at. And then I'm going to talk about my fee is this. Now, if you do a really good job with the presentation, the fee isn't a problem. At least it's not as much of a problem, right? Remember, value is only an issue in the absence of value. Okay? Price is only an issue in the absence of value. So the job of the presentation is to communicate massive value. So, the fee, what you charge, is not such a big issue. And they're more likely to listen to your opinion on price, okay, if they believe you're the expert. That all happens because of the power of the presentation. So when I get to the end of the presentation, if they're not ready to sign up, I know, well, they've already bought into the benefit portion of my presentation. They must not like the price or my commission rate. So now that I know what the problem is, what the objection is, guess what? I can handle it. Here's why you want to do it this way. If you go through the entire presentation, benefit, here's what you should list your home for, and here's my commission rate, and at the end of it they say no, the problem is you don't know what they're saying no to. Are they saying no to the benefits portion, like they didn't like what you're going to do when you to market their home, or did they not like your asking price, or did they not like your commission rate? So by isolating the objection, we can better handle it. So what do you think? Can you guys do this? Look, it's just repetition. I was the type of person, I don't know about you guys, let me know in comments if you're like this, but when I would lose a listing, I would be driving home and I would be analyzing this, replaying this. What could I have done differently? I was really analyzing when I did it right and I got the listing, what I did correctly, and if I'd lose the listing, I was playing it back and I was trying to figure it out. And I had enough repetition, I had enough of these listing appointments, 3, 4, 5 a day, that eventually by tweaking it and through practice, I became better and better and better at this until I couldn't make it any better. So then when I hired my outside sales agents, when I grew my team, it was easy because now I had created this presentation and I just had to teach them how to use the presentation. Here it is. It's on PowerPoint. They would shadow me. They would follow me around and listen to how I would say the same thing in the same order over and over again to get the same great results. That's what I want for you. I hope you've enjoyed this today. Take me up on my offer. What do you got to lose? There's no downside. There's only an upside. Book your breakthrough call with Craig Proctor. It's proctorcall.com. Please type that into comments. proctorcall.com. Take a half an hour, take 40 minutes. What if we can really help you in your real estate career? Another thing I'd like to do is invite you to my private Facebook group. If you're not already a member, here's my invitation to you right now. All you have to do is go to Facebook and go to Rich Agent Secrets. If you want an invitation, just write invitation into the comments. I'll make sure you get an invite for my private Facebook group. But we're out of time for today. Did you find this helpful? I hope so. So we'll see you next time. This is Real Estate Coach Craig Proctor. Have yourself a great day. Take care. Hi, this is Craig Proctor. Hey, I really hope you enjoyed that video. And listen, I've got a lot more information for you to help you grow your real estate business. You see, several times a week, I record new videos and I load them onto this YouTube channel. What I'd like you to do, if you'd like to access them, are two important things, and both are totally free. Number one is I'd like you to subscribe to this channel. You're going to see a little subscribe button for you to click on. And if you don't already have an account with YouTube, It's free for you to set it up. It's really easy, it's free, but you've got to subscribe to this channel. And the most important thing is to ring the little bell right next to the subscribe button. And that's going to let you know every time I load new money-making videos to help you grow your real estate business. So make sure you subscribe right now, you ring the little bell, and we'll see you on the next video.